Hey, hey there. Happy Monday to everybody. Listen, I am sending out lots of joy and all things good as we head into this holiday season. I am Sadia Davis, the director for the Center for Creative Entrepreneurship. And just literally weeks ago, we decided to launch a 9-day Stream-a-Thon. What was I thinking? Straight days in a row, honoring 9 sectors of the creative sector, of which the Center for Creative Entrepreneurship provides resources, relationships, skills, and in some cases, we direct funding, right? In order to help creative entrepreneurs establish a sustainable business in a creative sector. So that's music, film, TV, video, gosh. Tonight, we're focused on sports. And of all of the industries, I have to say, as much as I love working and not working, but watching sports, in terms of the industry of business in sports is the one sector that I find to be the most challenging because people can go anywhere. They can create any sort of business after either being a professional player or deciding to create a gamification. That's a big thing now with esports. I'm wearing this Rolex hat tonight because if you're from Chicago and we have some competitive ball clubs, whether it's the Cubs or the Sox, right? You cannot wear a Cubs hat at a Sox game, right? So if you're from here, if you've ever been to a game, you've got to go neutral. You've got to wear a Blackhawks jersey if you're going to a Sox or a Cubs game and you're not one of the two. So I decided tonight, having opened the Rolex boutique here on Michigan Avenue in 2011 and understanding the value of Rolex and how as a sponsor, they really only sponsor particular sports, that which shows the achievement of one individual. And in fact, they do sponsor tennis. So I wore this hat tonight in honor of our first sports guest, but we'll get there in just a moment. In the meantime, I want to tell you guys a couple of things. As we go through, only 2 more nights to go. Visual artist Tony Fitzpatrick, who's a Chicago legend and a dramatic actor, has given us 4 beautiful puzzles of his incredible work to be auctioned off, which we will do on our final night. And also thank you to Tony Vitale, who is allowing us to raffle off a vertical groove. Let's take a look. So isn't that cool? You can literally customize who you give that vertical grooves floating record player to. So let it not be a lonely, lonely time this holiday season. Go ahead and be sure to get your tickets for our final night, which is film. And we will raffle off for any ticket over $250 and up. That's a $450 record player. I'm just letting you know. It's fabulous. It's amazing. It's art. It's design. And it sounds great. So sign on to the Center for Creative Entrepreneurship website at CCE Global and get your tickets soon. With all that being said, before we get started with our sports event tonight, much like we do when we're at a sports event, we hear the national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Jim Cornelison has been the national anthem singer for the Chicago Blackhawks since the 2008-09 hockey season. His renown has risen along with the Blackhawks' emergence as a powerhouse in the National Hockey League, including Stanley Cup victories in 2010, 2013, and 2015. His unique yet traditional rendition of the Star-Spangled Banner has most recently led him to being asked back to the Indianapolis 500 in 2018 to repeat his performance of Back Home Again in Indiana. And at his direction, he has asked for me not to read all of this, but I will say that he has appeared on NPR Morning Edition, The Today Show, The Wall Street Journal, Sports Illustrated, The Boston Globe, The Los Angeles Times, The Washington Post, and The Chicago Tribune, and many others. Other performances include The Colbert Report, 2012, Ryder Cup 2009. That was amazing, by the way. Oh my gosh, he has been a part of Division I universities, the Chicago Bulls, White Sox, Cubs, and Fire, and a performance of the anthem in a killer concert with the Smashing Pumpkins. Jim, you know, I'm saying.
Hi, Nadia. How are you?
I mean, oh, I've still got my glasses on. I'm great. I'm great. You know, I'm not wearing your hat tonight because I need to actually form it. But one of the reasons I wanted to bring you on tonight is because you have a unique story, Jim. And just briefly, I would love for you to share a little bit about you. And here's why. You sing one song.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you have a history of being an opera singer.
Mm-hmm.
And to be able to go from that and to launch yourself into a business in the sports industry, I think it's really captivating. So share a little bit about who you are, not the bullets that I just read.
Well, some of it is are my actions, and some of it's sports launching me. But I did my master's in opera performance at Indiana University, and then was invited to Chicago by the Lyric Opera of Chicago in 1995. And was managed by Columbia Artists after 2 years in the apprentice program there, and sang throughout the United States and numerous places in Europe as well. So that was kind of my background as a professional singer. And during that time, when shortly after I came to the Lyric, I started doing a few anthems every year for the Blackhawks, and that was really a lot of fun. But it was also like, you know, free tickets, free parking, some free food, free beers from the fans, and I think $50, something like that. So it was just something that I did for fun as I was doing opera. So in 08-09, the Blackhawks asked me to do all the anthems, and at that time I was going through a divorce. I knew I wouldn't be traveling, and I thought, what the heck, I'll give it a shot. And then we went to the Western Conference Finals in 09. Also, they had the very first Winter Classic on January 1 of 09, which was internationally broadcast hockey game outdoors at Wrigley Field. So I was able to sing that. And then the next year we won the Super Bowl. Excuse me, the Super Bowl. I'm sitting here I'm thinking of Jason. He'll be on here in a minute. We won the Stanley Cup in 2010, and that did an awful lot then to changing. I'd been doing real estate as kind of I guess it was a transition after getting out of opera, and shortly after winning that Stanley Cup, we had the Bears playoffs in January of 11. So 6 months later, those were huge. I sang both of those, and then I just back to singing, but now it was one song. So it was, opera, you're singing the great composers of history, that music, and it's a very different thing than going into sports and you start singing one song. Right. So that's the part of, the success of the Blackhawks, the success of the Bears, that really propelled me into the limelight. But then people started to attach to the anthem well beyond just the Blackhawks, and that's been quite a journey. Where it's taken me.
Well, I tell you, I've met you because you, if I may share, 2112 Chicago, of course, the largest creative co-working space and creative incubator in the world. And one of the things that happens there are it's the theory of random collisions, right? Where individuals intersect with people they might not ever meet. And in this case, you happen to sit in that space on some occasions. And that's how you and I met. Also, briefly, I would love for you, I believe, is it okay to share that you're writing something?
Yeah, sure.
You're writing a book.
I'm writing a book, which really is about relating my story since being the anthem singer for the Chicago Blackhawks. It's not autobiographical. It's more I want people to understand what I have come to know, and being the anthem singer with the Blackhawks, and doing work that I do with veterans, the people who come up to me and ask me to be a part of the events or share what's going on in their lives. My life's been enriched very much by the people who come to me and identify the national anthem with me, and then experiences in their life that they attach to me. So I share some of those stories, and I've done like 15 interviews with some pretty amazing people that I also I've had the privilege to come to know them, and they trust me enough to do this book in this more or less volatile environment regarding anything political these days. And so it's been a great experience.
Oh, good. Well, I would love to encourage individuals to stick by you. We've shown how to reach out and be connected with you, because when that book launches, I think it's going to be pretty powerful and pretty impactful from what I understand. And
well, we'll see. You can't, one of the things I've learned as a singer forever, right? You go out and you do what you do. Yeah. And then you see how people respond. And, some people it will respond positively. Others will not really give a damn. And that's just life in the arts, I think. You put yourself out there and you see, what comes of it. And regardless, you move on to the next thing anyway. And always try to put your best foot forward and see where it goes.
Yeah, well, you've put your best foot forward, and I have to commend you on that. And speaking of, before we let you go, I want to encourage our creative entrepreneurs to understand something very unique. And that is that you, as an individual, are your business, meaning you have merchandise, right? Right. And that's important because as individuals consider what does it mean to become an entrepreneur in a particular industry, it's so unique what you've done, in a sense, monetizing the song, not necessarily the song, but the performance of it, the bobbleheads, right? All of the things that, you know, individuals connect to you on a very visceral level. And I'm really excited that your book will start to share a light of how that song impacts individuals when they hear it. There's been a lot of controversy, obviously, in the last couple of years. But the reality is that we still use that song every time we start a sports event. And
yeah, it's an amazing song, honestly. I mean, people don't understand it. You only know what you know. And again, if I am able to share what I can share from 12 years ago, the reality of the anthem, the fact that it's actually rooted in American history and a real situation, and the themes that run through it, it's amazing how it resonates with certain people. One of the chapters I call Two Worlds, and it's essentially that you have 90% of the people at a sporting event who are there, you know, enjoying the outdoors. They're there with family and friends. It's a bright sunny day. Say this particular chapter is written around an event at Wrigley Field. And, you know, people are having beers, they're having a good time. But then at the same time, somebody would come up to me and they start telling me, you know, they start telling me about their son who's been hit in the head with a rocket while on patrol in Iraq, and they start weeping. And so I'm hugging this mom in the middle of Wrigley Field while people are still coming up and asking me for selfies or patting me on the back or go Hawks, way to go, Jim. You know, you have these two worlds that happen all of a sudden, and I run into that over and over again at Blackhawk games, at baseball games or whatever, and it really it changes my experience of those live sporting events.
Yeah,
I think and for whatever, it's very deep. The hats, by the way, and the bobbleheads, all of that, right? That was all part of just kind of like trying to develop a brand, try to increase the brand ability. You know what I do the anthem a certain way. I do it the exact same way every time. It's my Big Mac. It's taken me to, you know, well, it's ultimately ended up with the invitations to sing Back Home Again in Indiana for the Indianapolis 500, but the Ryder Cup, the 100th anniversary of the NFL's opening game, Division I stuff in Kansas, and University of Nebraska Omaha, which, by the way, had #1 hockey team a couple of years ago in the Division I. Who's heard of University of Nebraska Omaha? But well, there you go.
It's a beautiful demonstration of taking an idea and executing it into a business, and really, you know, furthering that with explaining in the book that we look forward to. And I hope you choose my title. But anyways, thank you so much, Jim, for starting us off like we start off all of our sports events.
You bet.
The National Anthem. I really appreciate you.
Thanks, Saudia. Appreciate it.
So with that, you know, let's definitely talk to Mr. Murray, who is taking his time to be with us tonight. Kamau Murray is the founder of the Access Tennis and Education Foundation. As a graduate of the Chicago Public Schools, Kamau knows firsthand how athletic programs are crucial to Chicago's youth during the most critical stages in their life. Kamau participated in Chicago Park District tennis programs as a child and subsequently was awarded a tennis scholarship to Florida A&M University, where he received a full scholarship, earning a BA and MBA. Kamau Murray began offering tennis coaching to 5 children in 2004. As the need for a program of its type became increasingly evident, Access Tennis was founded in 2008. The organization's success has been remarkable. Murray's initial 5 students have gone on to win national championships, IHSA state championships, 2 junior Olympic gold medals. In 2017, he brought 40 inner city youth, not only got a chance to attend the U.S. Open, they got a chance to witness Kamau coaching Sloan Stevens to her historic 2017 U.S. Open title, and see their Southside coach become only the 3rd African-American coach to win a Grand Slam in its 95th year history. In 2014, Kamau walked into City Hall with an idea to build a world-class tennis facility on the South Side. The new $15 million excess tennis village is only the third facility to ever be built in a low-income census tract area, and is opening, and it did. The thing is, it's open. My God, it's open. It's open, and you need to see it, and you need to get down there and discover. It has also won the bid for the International Lever Cup in 2018. Kamau Murray.
Hello, how's it going?
I mean, it's going well. I mean, you know, I have to read all of that because it's not enough to just say who you are and what you do. Like, so many things in that bio matter. But at the same time, you know, you're you.
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
It's always a good thing, Coach. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Doing great. Sitting in a hotel room in LA trying not to catch coronavirus.
Murray, I tell you, trying to keep up with you is it's amazing. You'll be at the French Open. One time you were like, "Do you want to come?" And I was like, do I have money to come? I mean, like, how does one say yes and just jump on a plane and go, right? We met through a wonderful mutual friend, Les Coney, who introduced us a couple of years back. And one of the things that I found fascinating is when I toured your facility down on the South Side before it became its current iteration, it blew my mind.
Yeah, it's been good. I mean, it's been you know, I think that tennis courts require a lot of real estate. So one tennis court is bigger than a standard Chicago city lot. So I think that from a sheer scale standpoint, I think it's always a little bit startling to sort of see, you know, at the time you talked about, it was only 5 indoor courts and it still was like 40,000 square feet. But then, you know, you boil it down to 2 to 4 people on the court, and then it's sort of sums it up a little bit and brings it down a little bit to where a level that's a little bit more absorbable and manageable.
Yeah. So with the current location, how many courts? Because I know there's like a red clay court. Talk to us a little bit about that, because, you know, individuals know your history with Sloan, and we can talk more about that and we'll share some pictures. But what you've created for the city of Chicago is remarkable, and it's a beautiful story behind it.
Yeah, so we've got 15 indoor courts. We've got a 10,000 square foot gymnasium, and we also have 4 classrooms, and 2 individual study rooms, which I think is even more important than the tennis courts. We've also got 15 outdoor courts. So it's really a place where a kid could come every day and get their homework done. We've got, you know, computers and desks and tutors available Monday through Thursday. And then we got a gym with treadmills and weights and all the stuff that, you know, a budding athlete should have access to. We're probably not old enough to belong to an LA Fitness or something like that. And then we got 12 tennis courts. And so it's, you know, we were starting to gain a lot of traction, service a lot of kids. So we needed to build a space that could service enough people between the hours of 4 and 7 when the kids, you know, needed these types of services most. Our 5 courts in our old facility was just not enough. It only allowed us to serve 20, 22 kids at a time. And now we can, you know, do 48 kids pre-COVID, right? 48 kids at one time. So it allows us to have a lot of impact on a daily basis. And I think that's what we really wanted to do. In a city like Chicago, if you don't have a roof, you have a summer camp, right? Because it's cold 8 to 9 months out the year. So wanted to make sure that we were able to like be a true academy and provide, you know, sort of consistent service to the kids. You know, I also say that tennis is one of the best sports and one of the biggest opportunities for those who love to coach and love to impact kids. You know, tennis is one-on-one, right? So you get football and basketball, and that's a lot of team. But if you want to develop an individual relationship with a kid, tennis is like one of the best ways because it's a lot of one-on-one and truly like the best way to develop a lifelong relationship. I mean, I have relationships with young people that are 25, 26 years old. And by the time they left me at 18, we probably spent 10,000 hours on the court together.
Okay, so you don't look older than like 28, 30 already.
I just turned 40, October 4th.
It's like, okay, happy birthday.
I can't see here. You know?
No, we don't need to know about all the details because you look great. Congratulations, Kamau, 40?
Yeah, I feel it too. I feel it in my bones. When that cold comes in Chicago, I start to slow down.
Well, I hear you, and I say, well, at least while you're in a little bit of a warmer climate, hang in there. I'm really excited to hear. Okay, so this is funny. I'm excited that there are classrooms. I'm huge on education, and I love that you're providing that space to keep that part of the connection going. I haven't toured yet because I've been very adamant about making sure you were there. And you travel all over. So I've missed my opportunity on multiple occasions. I know where it is, off of Garfield. I know exactly. I've toured and drove, and I'm like, nope, I'm not going in until you're in town. So I will hold on to that. But I have to share. I won't go too deep, but I definitely want to share one individual and spotlight Bob Arthur. Because he's an individual that with, Magellan Company, speaking of sports, did a really good job of making contributions to the Blackhawks, to the Sox, to I think the Cubs, right? And also making sure that there was some funding for you with Excess Tennis, if I may.
Yeah. Bob is, one of Chicago's angels. He's a true fan of sports, a giver of, to a lot of youth causes, but also somebody that truly invests, right? It's like Bob is the kind of guy that'll provide funding for your organization the first time, and then you feel guilty taking his money after that because you become such friends with him and Susan. Yes. And it goes beyond like a donor and donee type of relationship. And so, you get so close to him, you understand how good of a great of a person he is. You feel guilty, like, asking him for money. It's like now I feel so terrible, like, asking him for funding and I almost don't want his money because I'd rather have his friendship instead. So
yes.
That's sort of the kind of guy he is. And like me, him, my wife, we go out to dinner all the time.
Yeah.
It's not about, even managing a donor relationship. It's about, like just spending time with a friend. Yes. As a matter of fact, the last dinner that I had in March before the shutdown in Chicago was with Bob and Susan.
And Susan loves tennis.
Yeah, Susan loves tennis. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I had to shine that light because, shortly before he and I had our meeting or whatever, he was coming to meet with you. And he was like, do you know Kamau? And I was like, absolutely, and it was just one of those things where I just felt like, wow, good person, solid individual. And if you don't know, you would never know, right? Because such a humble human being. And I just wanted to just out of my heart shine a light there. Because so many industries have shifted with COVID. Speaking of which, how's it going at Excess Tennis right now?
It's going. I think that tennis is socially distant, and so
it is
one of those sports. When you look at like the CDC's sort of risk level, tennis is like at the lowest risk, and so we've actually seen a lot of people who normally will be playing basketball or soccer or baseball not be able to play those sports and sort of just give tennis a try, so we know deep down that like young Black boys from the South Side don't want to play tennis, but for now we are enjoying like the uptick in our program primarily due to an increase in young Black boys trying out tennis. So we are still operating, and we've obviously just reduced the density of the kids in each class, but we are still rolling, so now we've just got 2 kids on a court, or we're still offering private instruction. We've eliminated guest policies, but we are still, going strong, and we've got 36 employees that are still able to work. Of the 36 employees, 30 have triple minimum wage jobs. So our employees are still able to make a living. And so we've done all right. Our membership has actually increased by 200 people since COVID. So we were able to, because of the outdoor courts, we were able to have a full summer camp where we had almost over 100 kids. Obviously not at the same time, but, you know, sort of rotating through. So we were still able to provide a service to the community and a safe haven to kids who have been cooped up in the house and whose parents have to go to work. I mean, the space that we work in, the neighborhood we work in, have people that, you know, work in retail or don't have the ability to work from home. And so us being able to be open and provide a place to just drop your kid off was extremely important. And the community sort of really, really appreciated it.
Yeah, you know, I'm glad you mentioned that, because when you think about, you got one person on one side of the court and one person on the other, you can't get any more socially distanced than that.
Yeah, it's 2 people per 7,700 square feet. So we're well in compliance.
Yeah, and then you've got these vaulted high ceilings, I already know. Yeah. So let's take a look at some of your photos. Now, the first photo you shared with us, talk to us a little bit about that one.
Yeah, so that was 2017, actually. That was the year Sloan won the U.S. Open. And, you know, you get there early to just practice on the different outer courts. What's funny is, you know, at the time, Sloan had just came back from an injury, and she was ranked like 900 in the world. So we didn't play a single match until the quarterfinals on Arthur Ashe Stadium. We were playing on the outer courts. You know, they were, you know, putting us in the backyard. And then, you know, so that's a picture of a temporary Louis Armstrong court, which we played our first 5 matches on. And it's just, you know, making last minute tweaks, you know, to your player just to kind of get it right. And, you know, every girl, right, their nerves show up in their serve. So you practice to serve the most of anything. So that's just trying to help gain some confidence and some last minute adjustments.
Yeah, well, we're just going to kind of flip through a couple of photos here that, you know, this one.
Yeah, that's after she won the final. I think it was, you know, disbelief for her. A good "I told you so" moment for me.
That's so sweet.
But, you know, 24-year-old girl. A lot of people actually think we're the same age. You know, I'm like the only African-American coach on the pro tour.
I told you.
But also, like, people talk to me and they're like, oh, they're talking to me like I'm 27. I'm like, I'm 40. I'm like way older than you, right? So initially when I started coaching Sloan, they thought I was her boyfriend, number one. And then after we killed that spell, they thought I was her brother, number 2. So, you know, over the years, we've just sort of like, now I think after 6 years, people know, okay, that's the coach. But, you know, she and I do have like a very versatile relationship. And I think I'm 40, but I'm still young enough to sort of relate to the 24, 25-year-old. So
absolutely.
That was just like the, you know, you did it kid kind of moment.
Nice. Yeah. And that's you. Is that the new?
That's the old facility.
That's the old one, right? That's where I've been. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the old one.
Yeah. Well, you know, we continue to wish not only Access Tennis continued success. Is there one tip that you would give for any entrepreneur that is in the sports industry, whether a former player or that decides to create something? What would you say?
I would say to just start, right? A lot of times, you know, as entrepreneurs, we say, well, I need this and I need that, right? And if you can't start on the big scale, start on the small scale, right? So I started giving lessons in Dunbar Park, right, to just a few kids. And then, you know, they had some success and would justify the need for an indoor facility and a year-round opportunity. And then, you know, especially as a Black entrepreneur, you know, you have to always overprove yourself. So, you know, I proved from 2008 to 2015 that you can sell tennis lessons to Black people on the South Side for a below market rate, right? And so, you know, we had 7 or 8 years of positive revenue. And then at that point, I go to the city to say, hey, I know it sounds crazy, right? In 2014, you know, this idea, right? It sounds crazy to sell below market rate lessons to you know, poor Black people, right? And then in 2017, where now there's all 3 of the 4 semifinalists in the U.S. Open that year were African American, right? And so it's kind of like a "I told you so" kind of moment, right? As a matter of fact, the first phone call that I received was from the former mayor, Rahm Emanuel.
Well, you know what? I got to tell you, I did put a request in for a jump in to surprise you. I didn't, it might be too late, but I didn't get a response.
But yeah, you know, and he was like, oh, wow. I was like, I told you so. You know what I mean? So, you know, but even now you see Coco Gauff and a lot of other young African-American tennis players coming. But in 2014, I knew about all those young 12-year-olds that was coming, right? And so I was like, yes, we should build this. Yes, this will be a national hub for Black people who are in New York and can't afford the John McEnroe Academy, right? Or in Bradenton, Florida, and can't afford $75 grand for IMG. Chicago could be the place that they run to. And so we've had 6 families relocate to Chicago just this year from Jersey, Missouri, from Vegas, right, to play there because, you know, we're 501c3, we provide scholarships, it's a nurturing environment. And so, you know, I would say just start, right? And I also think that Chicago is a tricky city because it's a city where everyone is 50-50 on everyone. I've never met anybody in Chicago that 100% of the people like. Right?
Say that again. This is deep. Say it.
So I would say, you know, Chicago's 50-50 on everybody. You know, 50% of the people like Bob and 50% of the people don't like Bob, right? Or Rahm Emanuel. Every decision he made was 50-50. Lori Lightfoot, everything, you know. So I think that a lot of times you just have to, if you know you're doing the right thing, you just have to keep going, right? And so, you know, I've found that over the years, there is a huge division between the South Side and the North Side. And, you know, early in the process, there was a lot of the South Side can't support that facility, right? Or I was working a full-time job until January 27th, 2016. So I'd already begun raising money to build this facility while working a full-time job. And people say, he's not even committed. He doesn't even teach full-time. He's not committed. You shouldn't donate. You know what I mean? And so I think that, you know, number one, just start. And number two, just to keep going, right? And accept the fact that 50% of the people won't understand your dream, your vision, or the opportunity because they don't live in the space, right? A lot of times entrepreneurs are innovators, right? And they are subject matter experts.
Yep.
And so when you're soliciting funds or investment, you're really talking to people who have no idea or have less knowledge than you do about the space. And in tennis, I mean, you know, like tennis is like the runt of sports, right? So, you know, it's just keep going, you know, don't let people, you know, discourage you. And, you know, understand, really truly believe that you are the subject matter expert in your field. And then convince them that you're right, you know, and that there's an opportunity that you see that they may not see. And so, you know, one of the things I think, you know, my greatest sort of the thing I take the most pride in is the work that we do for the kids. But Sloan winning the US Open and coaching a professional tennis player, to me as a Black person, continues to give me the extra edge I need to prove that, you know, I know what I'm talking about, or perhaps, you know, there's something that they may not get. You know what I mean? I think when I was just a guy giving lessons on the South Side, it was easy to sort of discount the ideas or discount the opportunity. And then I think having that success on a global scale created a deeper sense of pride in the kids in the program. You know what I mean? It's like, hey, that's our coaches on TV, right?
Yes.
I think that, you know, very few places on the South and West Side have a leader who is commentating for Tennis Channel or coaching a top 5 player in the world. And the pride of these young kids who in tennis, Black people do feel inferior. You know, we walk into a very nice club like East Bank Club or Midtown, like, whoa, this place is very nice, right? And so it creates this, even if you do figure out a way to access tennis, the moment you go to the club outside of your neighborhood, you feel inferior. And so it's given our kids a sense of pride. They don't feel inferior walking to anybody else's club because they go to Access Tennis.
Wow. So, you know, just the empowerment alone, just walking into the space and understanding if you don't see yourself, that means you're supposed to be there, right? Being able to empower individuals, because I can imagine walking onto the courts or traveling around the world, you might not see each other. So everything that you've just described, really, it's like layered, baked, it's multiple layers in a baked, delicious German chocolate cake. You know what I'm saying? And then when you talk about like credibility, right? In that, yeah, by winning these slams or championships, then it adds that credibility to the naysayers or the disbelievers. One of the things that excites me so much, and it really shines through in this conversation with you, is that with the Center for Creative Entrepreneurship, the vision behind 2112 being a creative incubator of business, meaning anything that you need, whether it's for film, music, I don't know, fashion. You know, there's a fashion lab, there's IP attorneys, there's anything you need, it's there. And the whole goal was with CCE to create this pipeline into the workforce side, the back end of the creative industries, because that's where the money is. So to hear you talk about the infrastructure that you've laid out is you're pipelining talent into an industry that historically was definitely not inclusive in tennis. And it feels so good, right? To see BIPOC, Black, Indigenous, people of color, and historically marginalized communities showing up on the courts and winning and talking to each other, right? And supporting one another. So my heart is full. Thank you for taking this time. I think we went over our 10 minutes that I asked for. So Coach, thank you so much. It means the most to us and our creative entrepreneurs who are taking in time to watch and invest in themselves.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Wow, you guys, you know, so unless we have these conversations, it's hard for us to ultimately know the depths of which someone takes a vision. That's one person had a vision and executed it, no matter what other people said, got the funding to do it, and now serves not only a local greater Chicago community, but serves tennis globally and is attracting individuals here to Chicago. So that's huge. Thank you to Kamau Murray. So now let's talk to Jason McKie. Jason McKie is a Florida native. Yeah, we could go all the way back to when he attended Gulf Breeze High School and was a student in the football and weightlifting. I mean, but this is the thing. McKie then accepted a full football scholarship to Temple University and was a two-time team captain at Temple, where he also earned athletic director's academic lists of honors. McKie spent 9 years playing in the NFL and 7 were with the Chicago Bulls as their starting fullback. He won an NFC championship with the Bears in 2006 and played in the Super Bowl against the Indianapolis Colts. In 2015, McKie founded All Pro Sports Performance, where he helped to train over 200 top-tier athletes, including NFL, CFL, and Division I collegiate athletes. You guys, listen, I got to read this because it's deep. McKie is now the head coach for Central Catholic High School in McLean, Illinois. McKie has also been active in the community throughout his NFL career. In 2008, McKie launched the Jason McKie Foundation of the Institute for Science and Health, which focuses on programs in the areas of education and wellness with an emphasis on making an impact in the lives of families of soldiers. The foundation provides educational scholarships to children and spouses affected by a loss or severely injured parent or spouse. McKie's father served for 21 years in the Air Force and was in the Pentagon at the time of the September 11 attacks. Jason McKie, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me. Thanks for having me. Thanks for an introduction.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure to have you with us. Tell everybody like a little bit about who you are. I like individuals to share their origin story because whether it's a young person, a middle-aged person, or someone who's making a shift in their career and they're considering a business, in this case, we're talking the business of sports, it does kind of help individuals to kind of understand who you are and what made you make your decisions.
Yeah, growing up, a small town military kid, grew up all over the country at a young age. I've lived in the Philippines, I've lived in California, lived in England, Indiana, and then back to Florida. So at a young age, got to experience a lot of things that a lot of people would never get to experience, traveling overseas with my family. We moved every 3 years. And, as a kid, it was tough because, you meet friends and then, you're going to move on and leave those friends that you meet or that community that you get embedded in every 3 years. So at a young age, I didn't understand it. I actually would resent my father a lot when I was younger because, I used to blame him for it and not realizing as I got older, that was a part of his occupation. He was dedicating himself, serving our country. And me at a young age, not understand it, I would resent my father because I felt like, my parents were doing it on purpose. When I felt like I finally belonged to a community, we would move. So, my upbringing was a lot different, but it actually helped mold me to the person I am to this day. My father was very, very strict on me growing up, very militant. I always say he treated me like I was in the military. Growing up, most kids, they get like all kind of presents and things like that they wanted on Christmas. I would get, stuff like combat boots and you probably say combat boots. Well, my dad would say, hey, you got those boots so you can wake up at 6 a.m. to mow the grass. So it was quite a different upbringing, but it definitely molded me and instilled values that made me successful, that helped prolong my NFL career. Being able to adapt and adjust to different environments, at a young age really helped me be able to adapt to different environments, throughout my NFL career. So, I remember in college, I remember the first time we went on an away game. Mm-hmm. And it was the first time some of my teammates had been on an airplane. And I'm laughing because I'm like, man, I've been on about 100 airplanes, and they're all scared and stuff like that. So it was definitely a different upbringing, but I'm truly thankful for it. Truly thankful to my parents to this day. And I think without having that military experience and that upbringing, I wouldn't have been able to achieve my dreams that I wanted to achieve since I was a youth.
Wow. Well, we salute your father in his service. And, it's a blessing that it reared you into who you are today. So when you say, speaking of what your dreams were as a youth, did you want to play football?
Yeah. The funny thing is, and I've been talking about my dad and, I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about my mom. So, what people don't realize is, my mom is the main reason why I wanted to play football. My family, I come from a basketball family. So my second cousin is Aaron McKie, who played 10 years in the NBA for the Philadelphia 76ers. I have a cousin in South Carolina named Justin McKie, who played a few years back with that University of South Carolina team that made it to the Elite Eight. His father, BJ McKie, is the head basketball coach at South Carolina. I think South Carolina State. He also played at University of South Carolina. And, my cousin who I just mentioned, who played 10 years in the NBA, he's actually the head basketball coach at Temple University, which is both of our alma maters. But it goes back to, everybody in my family played basketball. I was a lone wolf that went and played football. And it was because of my mom. My mom used to play flag football. And she said, as soon as I could walk, in the middle of a game, she said I would run out there and try to grab the ball or run out there and be a part of a play. And she said from that moment on, she knew I was going to be, destined to be special. And it was going to be in sports, in particular the game of football, because she said I always somehow would find my way onto the football field and interrupt the game. So my mom was really the motivating factor for me playing football.
Oh, that's just fantastic. It's so funny. Of all the sports, I played flag football, and I was good at it and I love it. Like I said, I know my sports. It's just when we talk about the business of sport, right. It's the one out of our 9 that I'm not shy about. I'm like, oh, okay. That's so cool. Kudos to your mom. That's really pretty fantastic. I mean, that being said, I would say too that, I want to talk about your business, right? And your ability to not only coach, but this foundation that you started, because I would arguably imagine that both with your upbringing and the amount of discipline that it takes to even become a pro ball player across the board, right? All that goes into you maintaining just the physicality for you to become successful, for you to become chosen. How do you believe that impacts your ability as a business person?
Yeah, playing any sport at the highest level, at the professional level, I mean, you got to be different. And, I tell a lot of the kids that I coach now and even kids that I train, if you want to be average, well, just do what everybody else does. If you want to be great, you got to be different. And if you look at all the successful people in life, everybody's a little bit different. You look at Bill Gates, he's a little bit different. You look at Mark Zuckerberg, he's a little bit different. And in sports, if you want to be great, well, you can't do what everybody else is doing. You got to be different. You got to do more than what's required. So, with me, having played at the professional level and having sacrificed so much and dedicating myself to my craft so much, I think it thrives me in business because, on a professional level, you fail and fail, but at the same time you fail in order to succeed. And, with business, it's the same thing. It's having that same mindset that made you successful in sports that really pushes you and motivates you to be successful in business.
Man, you just dropped some serious knowledge. I wrote it down. You want to be great, you got to be different. Just as simple as that.
Be different, man.
More than what's required.
Definitely.
Sometimes it's as simple as that. The other thing that's really valuable too are relationships, right? It's really wonderful to meet you and to know that how we even got connected is because of an individual whose son you coach.
Definitely.
Right. So I try to encourage entrepreneurs at any level. Look, it's the seat I sit in. I don't know everything, but some of the gifts that I've been gifted or the wisdom that's been imparted to me, I share. And I'm in a position to help share that information if it'll make somebody else's journey a little easier. And that one thing that keeps coming across over our 9 nights are the most important aspects of relationship building. Definitely.
It's a lot of people say it's cliche. It's not what you know. A lot of times it's who you know. And, I've been blessed to be in situations to where, I've been able to meet a lot of people, but, it goes back to, what Kamau was saying. I was listening to him speak and he was saying, Chicago's 50-50. So, either your name is good or your name is bad. And, your reputation is everything. And my family taught me that, at a young age that, your reputation is everything. So if you do good by people, good will come to you. And I've just been in a position to cross paths with a lot of great people and have been able to build those relationships just because of, my name in the community and what I've been able to do. And, I've just been fortunate that, on the business side of things, having met a lot of successful people and trying to, learn how they started their businesses and what motivated them on a completely different level than the sports side. It's one thing to be motivated on the sports side of things. You're waking up early, you're lifting weights, you're going to practice, you're watching film, you're going out there, you're trying to execute at the highest level on Sunday to win games. Yeah. But on the business side of things, these individuals who have successful businesses, it's the same thing, except for they're not lifting weights. They're trying to find creative ways to make their business unique so that way it can be successful. That's their lifting and their training and stuff like that. So I'm always one to listen to learn how other people have been successful and try to take bits and pieces of what made them successful and try to mold that into my work ethic and what made me have a successful playing career and in terms of make me have a successful business career.
Yeah, it's really brilliant. And I love that not only did you consider your foundation to really encourage, the ability and fostering fitness, right? But that you also brought in the aspect of veterans. Talk to us a little bit about that in terms of how it impacts either the children or the spouses of individuals.
Yeah, military life is different. A lot of people just think it impacts, military life just just as it impacts on just the parents or the people who's serving, but it has an impact on the spouses. It has an impact on the kids. And like I said when we first started talking, it's you're a young kid, you're 6, 7, 8 years old, moving from place to place. You get embedded in the community, you start liking the school, you meet friends, and then you move. The spouse is home by themselves all the time. Your father's being deployed or he's going to training, and your mom has to, the wife or the mother has to take the brunt of all the, all the household, everything, the kids, making sure they get up for school and just running the household. So it's a sacrifice on everybody. And, I know it was a sacrifice on my mom, making sure that me and my sister were doing what we were supposed to do in school, but also, outside of school where my dad was, he had to go out and do what he had to do, to make sure he was ready to serve his country. So it definitely has an impact on the spouses and not just the individual going through it, that military life. But at the same time, it is truly a blessing. And I always say, I know we celebrate Veterans Day, but, every day is Veterans Day. And I think we should, graciously give back and make note that, these people are putting themselves on the line each and every day for our safety. And we should acknowledge that on a daily basis and not just on a one-day basis.
Absolutely. That just really touches my heart. And I want to welcome you and your organization, the students, whether the students that you coach at the high school or within your foundation. We'll do a social distancing tour.
Awesome.
And maybe when the weather's a little better, we can figure out how to space them out of the Center for Creative Entrepreneurship, because it's a campus that helps individuals, doesn't matter their age, really expand their consciousness around what's possible when you see it, when you're physically in that space. We sit on 160,000 square feet of a total campus. But, you have individuals who want to make beats. There's new technology that we are partnered with, TunePad and University of Northwestern, where individuals learn how to code by making beats, right? Or the fact that they can see how producers do what they do. We just received a generous contribution and built a Comcast business startup studio where individuals can come and make mini commercials or do interviews in a room that was produced or created for that type of production. So I want to encourage you to definitely know that that's an option, and really find a way to get whether it's, like I said, the students or the adults in your foundation into the ecosystem.
No, I appreciate that. That's awesome. You guys are doing great things. You're being a blessing to others, and that's what life's about. And I keep going back to my parents, but that's what they always taught me and my sister. Life's it's not always about what you have and what this and that and what you have and material things. It's about being a blessing to others. So that way your legacy lives on. Because at the end of the day, when that expiration date's up, people don't remember how much money you had in the bank, what kind of car you drive, what kind of house you had. They remember how you impacted their lives, and your legacy lives on through storytelling. And, I've made that, I've always lived by that. It always hit home when my parents told me that. Even at a young age, I was able to understand that. So, that's why I, opened up the gym and train kids, because, if I can be a blessing to them, if I can give them, especially football kids, the blueprint to success, and give them goals and tips and a hardworking mindset on what they need to do, or the mindset they need to be successful, that's what I plan on doing. And, that's what I do through my training facility. That's what I do through coaching. And that's why I do it. I just want to, help change, young kids and help groom them into young men. And, that's what coaching is. Coaching is not just coaching, it's teaching. And, you're really a teacher, you're a mentor. Some of the kids you're a father figure for. So you've got to be all that, and you got to be willing to sacrifice to do that. And, for me, yes, I'm an ultra competitive person. I want to win every game. I want the kids I train to win every game. But at the same time, that's not going to happen. But, I always live by, a good coach can change a game, but a great coach can change a life. And that's my staff. That's what we do at our school. We're trying to impact and change kids' lives and not just games.
I got to write that one down too, Coach. A great coach can change. Did you say can change a life?
Yeah, a good coach can change a game, but a great coach can change a life. And So that's just like, you know, one of the kids I had the pleasure of training, and, you know, I don't take all the credit for these kids' success. A lot of them, you know, have natural talent, and they have that work ethic and that mindset instilled in them already. But if I can be a resource just to enhance that, and I was fortunate enough to train a kid last year who a basketball kid. I was able to, you know, train him in his strength and conditioning, help his overall agility to get better. And he got drafted in the second round by the Washington Wizards last year, which was huge for me, just being able to see him go from, you know, being a kid, you know, in college who didn't get a lot of playing time, to getting a lot of playing time, to being one of the top players, you know, in the SEC. He went to the University of Tennessee, and to you know, for him to invite me to his draft party and to be right there with him when he got drafted, and, you know, for him to come over and hug me and say, "Thank you, Coach. I really appreciate everything. And, you know, you're one of the resources that made this possible." You know, that's like me, you know, being drafted all over again. And, you know, we've been able to have several stories like that. You know, I had another kid who I had an opportunity to train who's actually from Chicago, played at the University of Notre Dame, played running back. And, you know, he was going into the draft, and they were going to change him to fullback. And, you know, he came to me, and I was able to train him. And through training him, you know, we got close. So now he's he's not a client no more, he's a little brother. So he calls me if he, you know, needs advice, mentorship. But, you know, he's a kid who was an undrafted kid who was able to play in the NFL for 4 years and fulfill his dream. And, you know, I was able to be a resource for that. So, you know, stories like that, when you have kids like that who you see, you know, from day one, you see their growth over time, you see them accomplish their lifelong dream. You know, it's like me doing it all over again. So, you know, that's what I mean by being a blessing. It's truly a blessing to see, you know, those stories come about. And it's not just kids in sports. You know, we've had kids that have gone from, you know, having a D, have gone from having a D to being on an honor roll. You know, just from us being able to talk to these kids and mentor kids, and the parents saying, "Hey, you know, Coach McKie, can you talk to such and such about his grades and stuff like that?"
Yeah.
And, you know, me being able to reiterate the importance of academics, you know, not just athletics, and seeing those kids, you know, turn their academic lives around, and, you know, end up being on the dean's list or the honor roll. I mean, those are all success stories, and those are all just, you know, just part of being a blessing and just being a resource to our kids, because at the end of the day, you know, we all know these kids could lead our country one day.
That's right.
And it's very important. So
absolutely. So tell everybody where you can be seen, because I think, did you say you were doing one of the shows, something?
Oh yeah, I'll be doing a post-game show for the Bears on CBS this Sunday. So they're playing the Texans, man. I hope we can get a win, man. It's you know, they give us a Christmas present, man. I know yesterday was a tragedy, and you know, me being a former Bear, I apologize to the Bears fans personally. It only get better, you know, I hope, but, you know, I feel for them guys.
Yeah.
You know, they don't go out there and although, I mean, it looked like they did yesterday, but I'm saying they don't go out there and try to lose. You know, they work real hard, and,
yeah,
and I'm hoping they can salvage the season somewhat and give us a win for Christmas.
Yeah, well, Miss Sharon Morgan says, such a great motivator. I'll bet his students hang in on every word. Discipline is the key to any success. You're a blessing to all of the young men that you coach. And I echo that. Thank you so much, Miss Sharon Morgan. So thank you, Jason McKie, for the brilliance of you, the genius in who you are, and being able to share your gifts with I would say, not just your community, but now we see that those individuals go out into the world and do big things. So thank you for continuing to be that spotlight in their life. It has been my pleasure to spotlight you this evening. Thank you to all of our guests for taking a moment in their busy schedules, like Jason, and thank your wife, your kids. I'm sure
they make it happen.
Yeah.
My wife did the setup, so you see everything behind me. My wife,
she
did all the decorating. She got the spotlight. She turned into a little studio. So without her, and she's got the dog in one hand, keeping the dog quiet. She makes it happen. So I definitely thank my family for everything.
Well, thank her for us. Thank you, Mrs. McKie. Thank you, Jason. Have a really wonderful week. Again, like I said, I want to thank all of our contributors this evening for this very valuable conversation. Thank you to starting us off, Jim Cornelison for starting us off with the National Anthem. Thank you to Kamau Murray for jumping in with us as you travel around the world. We really appreciate you, and anyone who has an opportunity or desire to play tennis, now you know that you can go down to Excess Tennis on the South Side. It's socially distanced, and it's an environment where you can play and stay agile during this winter season. And thank you, Jason McKie, for being such a bright light and shining your gifts and sharing them with your foundation and the students that you coach. I am Sadia Davis, the director for the Center for Creative Entrepreneurship. We are tonight wrapping up day 7 of our 9-day Stream-a-Thon. And listen, it's not over yet. We are absolutely encouraging you to go to our Center for Creative Entrepreneurship website and log in and see our Eventbrite, which gives you the schedule of the next several nights. So tomorrow we have culinary. And then I'm losing track. It's just been a total whirlwind. And then we have our final night on Wednesday with film and TV. Very exciting. Trust me, it's all worth your time to take a moment. So it is my joy and pleasure to bring these incredible programs to you to hopefully inspire and motivate your ability to create within the creative economy. We, like all foundations, at some point need to lean on those individuals who can support us in a financial way, and so that we can continue to bring these programs and boot camps and workshops to you for free. So we ask and encourage, if there's anything, any amount is doesn't matter how small, it doesn't matter how big, anything that you can reach inside your phone at this point, your credit card, and donate, we'd graciously accept. And we just are so thankful to be able to have launched this foundation during the pandemic. Who knew, right? But we continue to do the work, and we do it for you. Dina Micelli. Dina Micelli is a drummer, singer from Chicago, Illinois. Her professional journey has taken her from touring with a Grammy Award-winning artist to primetime TV. She appeared on P. Diddy's reality show MTV's Making His Band, and recently finished 5 seasons of the Fox Network TV series Empire. As a drummer, singer, Dina has challenged stereotypes and overcome many obstacles. Her goal is to inspire others to conquer what holds them back, because the world is a better place when we have the courage to realize our gifts. Go ahead, girl.
I've been offended, intimidated. I lived in fear, now I'm delivered. To the one who lives in the dark, the one who thinks he's too much. You can take it, you can have it, do what you want with it. You'll earn nothing but life for doing what you like for doing what you like for doing you do. Cause I've been offended, intimidated. I lived in fear, now I'm changing the destiny does to you. I'm living in the cradle of silence. In the hush of the wind, I'm screaming loud and clear. I've been offended, intimidated. I lived in fear, now I'm delivered. I remember those days full of worry, and the weight of silence. Oh, yes, I'm delivered. Yes, I'm delivered, and will be the love of silence. He never said it was easy, but who rises without the pain? Come on. No, I'm not gonna hide. Yes, I'm meant for me to shine. 'Cause I'm one great soldier standing up for mankind. It took me down to get up. I'm no fool, I rise up. And yes, I remember those days full of worry, and the weight of the world on my shoulders, and the pressure of the room in my chest, Yes, I've been defending, intimidated, I live in fear now. I was changing, still changing. In the hush of the window, screaming loud and clear. I've been offended, intimidated, I live in fear